my mom, who was hardcore praise and prayer. And so my mother would come in, she'd bust open the door in a moment and just start speaking in tongues and singing loud. It's like, this is what we do. It's like, so, I'm 5, 6 years old and she's busting in the room like, bless that wonderful name of Jesus. She's like, this is what we do.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Pastors Hangover. That is right. I'm here with some pastors, not a pastor. So we're going to introduce the panel of pastors we have here. Pastor Hal Mayer.
How you guys doing?
We have Daryl Black.
What's good?
And we have Trevor Easterling with us today.
Hey, Melissa.
You just have some big shoes to fill in that seat that Pastor Craig normally sits in.
Yeah, it's impossill shoes to fill.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do my best. The only bigger Bucks fan at Grace Family is me.
Is you?
Yeah. That's Pastor Craig. He'll agree. He'll agree. With
Okay.
me.
I went to the Bucks game with both of them.
No way.
Yeah, with him and Craig. It was.
Did Trevor start a fight with somebody?
We were close.
It was close. The
It
other
was
team.
close.
The other team, actually.
They're on fire for the Bucks.
Craig did tell me, because this week we're going to be talking about praise, and he said he has no singing abilities at all, that he was going to have Trevor stand in his.
That makes sense.
Shoes.
He did leave his mic on one time, though, and we got to hear him sing. So he does sing.
Yeah.
The Bible says to sing. It doesn't have to, you don't have to sing well.
A
but
joyful noise doesn't
joyful
have
noise.
anything to do with how well it's done.
No, there's no
Yes.
skill involved.
No
Yeah.
skill
It's
involved.
just joyful. It's just-
Yeah,
See,
and he does it all the time. Like
Yes.
I'm
That's
impressed
so awesome.
at how loud he sings.
yes.
he does.
And just like, yo, I don't care if I'm on the pitch or not.
Mhm.
I'm going to give it. And I love that about him, that I'm standing next to him. The first time he did it, it surprised me. I've been around a lot of pastors, a lot of preachers, and a lot of them don't even come out during worship.
Mhm.
They won't even be a part of the worship service, and for several different reasons. But most of them I don't like. But they don't even come out.
Moving on.
Right.
Moving on. But they don't even come out until it's time for them to speak. But Craig is out there worshiping,
Mhm.
kneeling, and he's loud and
Mhm.
he's off pitch and it's wonderful. And I'm like, yo, yeah.
And what's really dope about that is that trickles down to the campus pastors too.
Yeah.
Because while I'm at different locations, these guys are almost always on the front row,
Mhm.
hands lifted, singing loud. It's
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah. It makes a difference.
It does.
It makes a difference in the whole culture of the church.
It does.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that is super cool. I'm excited for what we're going to chat about today. Trevor, as the newbie here, why don't you
Yeah.
give us your take, if someone is brand new, on what Pastors Hangover means? What does it mean to you?
Well, first of all, I'm a fan of this podcast. I've been watching since the first episode. Y'all do an amazing job. So this is a great moment for me.
Man, we're glad to have you.
I'm subscribed.
Yes.
I'm subscribed.
Good.
Yeah. Premium sub. But no, I mean, it's for so what I've heard from teachers, throughout the years is, especially with what we do at Grace, we try to respect everybody's time. Our service is pretty much always like right at an hour. So we know for teachers who have a ton of content, you guys spend hours upon hours researching and studying and getting prepped for these teachings. And then you get, 30 minutes, 35 minutes, sometimes 25 minutes. So there's so much going on inside your head and inside your heart that you don't get to talk about. And so it's great for you guys to have a more long form, situation here for you to connect with folks, and folks can ask questions and you guys could dig into it a little bit more. So, and it's just a great non-denominational name for a podcast. So
Yeah. Love it.
Non-denominational name. I actually looked it up to see if anybody else had the name, and nobody else did. I was like, all right.
hey,
Oh,
there you
good.
go.
There we
Good.
go.
There you go. I wonder why.
There we go. Yeah, exactly.
It takes
Well,
a certain type of church for
That's
sure.
we
right.
could go longer if we just shorten the. No, I'm playing.
Hey, we can go to 2 songs. Hey, it's easier for us. No, that's cool.
And we are going to be chatting about praise today. So if you have not seen Pastor Daryl's message yet, make sure you go over to YouTube and watch The
Mhm.
Power of Praise. His message from
cool.
this weekend was incredible. And
So
we
cool.
got some
Thank you.
questions from you guys on where he can elaborate in the message, where we can learn more. What else did you guys want to know? So we're going to dive into those here,
Yeah.
and I'm pumped. But is there anything you guys really took away from the message, or that you guys wanted to add off the bat?
I would say for me, the highlight for me is standing on stage and watching people engage,
Mhm.
especially watching people who I've seen not engage consistently.
Mm.
And then to see those people going, I'm clapping and I'm moving and I'm dancing and I'm singing. I had two older gentlemen. One guy had a cane, the other guy was in a walker. They weren't even together. But at two separate times, one guy comes to me and he says, "Man, I've never done that in church before. I've been in church all my life and I've never engaged like that before." And another guy said, "It's been years, since he clapped in church." It's like, wow. And so to be able to see that and be a part of that and to give them encouragement and a little bit of fire to go, no, we do this, and the Bible encourages us to do that. So it's really cool to watch it from my perspective, that even seeing people clap off rhythm, they couldn't even move left to right together. It looked like an ocean. It wasn't even swaying the right way. People were going, it doesn't matter. The fact that they were doing it was a highlight for me.
Yes.
And so,
There's some people out there in the congregation that are extra Baptist, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or extra Catholic. That like, dudes, I interact with so many people on the weekend, like all the time, who come up to me like, wow, that was different, because they, grew up in a church environment where, you're, discouraged from, being loud, discouraged from moving your body and all this other stuff. And it's
that's the devil's worship right there. No.
That's right. Especially drums.
Well, and for people who don't know, like, I grew up in an uber conservative church where we literally, there was no clapping. We did hymns. And I still remember that to this day, the youth band came in and played one time. And like, I remember watching the lead pastor and his feet started to tap. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
But then they didn't allow them back in again
No.
because of that. And I remember like, oh, well, I guess that's bad. And so I remember, but even growing up, like, I ended up becoming a part of church. We definitely clapped. But I still remember coming to a church and the worship pastor going, "Raise your hand." I'm like, no.
I don't have a question. I don't have a question. I don't have a question.
I remember being offended by it. Like, and that's the thing. Like, I think some people don't even realize. Like, I remember, because I grew up in that so much, they're like, "Raise your hands." I'm like, you don't get to tell me what to do.
Right.
I get to do this how I want. And so I do. I think it's funny because you do, when you're up on stage. I didn't always know this, but when I would go up for announcements while the music was still going, every once in a while, and I look out and I go, "Oh, this is what you guys are talking about." Because you see some people into it, then you see some people just literally staring ahead. Like, the fact that they're standing and they're looking at you, I think is great that they're actually doing that, but they're just like, nope, not going to engage.
It's a dead focus.
It is.
But I think it's one of the hardest things, especially for men, to get involved in, because because I always tell people this. I'm like, where else do you go on a regular basis? Where you go and you sing with other people?
No,
like, it's just outside of a concert.
Absolutely.
But you don't see a lot of men doing that. And so where do you see this happen? So it's something that is very different, but it's one of those things, I think, with maturity, that at some point you just got to go, well, this is biblical.
Yes.
This is something that for some reason I'm supposed to do. So we have to go ahead. It's one of those things where you just have to trust God in it. And then once you do it, you realize, okay, so this is why.
Absolutely.
But
one thing that really stood out for me, man, that I think has been something, it's going to be something that is a springboard for us moving forward in our worship culture at Grace, is towards the end you talked about, hey, I'm gonna make this a church thing, is the first thing you said. And I was like, all right, where's he going? And then you said, this is why y'all need to get here on time. And I just thought that was so beautifully said, because because the thing you said afterwards was, when y'all are late, 10, 15 minutes late, our the front line of our army, right, it suffers. And that's so true. And the truth is, don't show up early for the ego of the worship team. Show up early for you. Show up early with big expectations that God is going to work and move, because we believe on any given Sunday, on any given Saturday, God can show up like in a real deal way in your life, like in a worship encounter that'll change your life forever. Like, one thing that's like a motto for us in the worship ministry is, it's not just another Sunday. It's not just another Saturday. Like, this could be a moment that you look back on forever, like as a moment that was a life-altering moment for you in a worship experience.
You never know what's happening, man. It's good. One service, there's a guy, no matter what I was talking about, like, he had committed to, like, this is me. I hear you. This is where I live.
You don't have to call me out like that, man.
It was Hal. But he's like, I live right here. Nothing's going to happen. And then when I got into the, it's not about your feelings. So I'm going.
There you go.
But for me, that's a win.
It is.
For even that guy to go, you know what? He's right. I'm going to do this even if I don't feel like I'm going to do it, and I'm going to get something out of it. He didn't know what he was going to get out of it, but his wife came to me and goes, my husband was singing and lifting his hands in church, and he's never done that.
It's beautiful, man.
And so that that could be the catalyst for something new happening in their family or whatever. But it's like, that moment got someone to do something that they would not have done otherwise. And so, I'm looking forward to see what our culture looks like. And I'm so looking forward to everybody showing up 15 to 20 minutes early.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Isn't it? Yeah. Is this my camera? Which one? I'm so looking forward to everybody showing up 15, 20 minutes early to church, man. It's going to be amazing.
It'll be incredible.
Now we do an awkward pause.
So everybody's staring into the camera.
Well, it's funny because I'll have people go, well, why is God so needy? Like, why does he need so much praise? And I'm like, well, God's not needy. Like, it's funny. I help people. I'm like, praise is a setup. It's a setup because we're reminding same thing with prayer, is we're reminding ourselves how big our God is, because we're about to go, many times we're about to go into a message where if you don't believe your God is big enough, you don't think the message is possible.
Dude,
you don't think the change is possible. You don't think the heart change is possible. You don't think any of that. So really, a prayer and praise, like when we are telling God, we're reminding God of who he is, or saying it out loud who he is. We're also reminding ourselves. Like, I need to be reminded like how great my God is, like how big my God is. Because if I don't think he's there, then the message is impossible. Like we say it at the end of every message, it's like, guys, you can't do this without Jesus in your life, like without the relationship. And so what praise does is it reminds us, it's more powerful than I thought. It's bigger than I think. I'm not doing this alone. And so I think that's what praise does such an incredible job with, and worship does, is it's setting you up to take another step. Because when you see how big God is, you actually feel like it's possible.
Yes. That's so good.
Yeah, and that's what when, we're talking about this this weekend. That's what King Jehoshaphat is talking about. That's what that moment, his prayer opens up. Wait a minute, aren't you the God of everything? Right. Because we have to remind ourselves and encourage ourselves, and that's really what praise is. Praise isn't because God needs it. Right. It's more so that we need to be reminded of who God is.
That's right.
So that we can do what God has called us to do and walk the way God wants us to walk. And so that's the that's the real benefit of it. And it's living in a state of gratitude. Right.
Yeah.
Like things change when you when your perspective changes to go, okay, God can do this.
Yep.
And so,
Another thing too, like that I love that you were talking about is that, our level of engagement with worship and praise isn't dependent on our circumstance or our feelings.
Right.
Because the truth is, Alistair Beck is a great Christian teacher, theologian. He has a great little bit on this where he gets up and talks about it and kind of calls worship leaders out. And he's like, what I hate is when a worship leader will get up on stage and go, how you all feeling this morning? How's everybody feeling? How's everybody doing? And listen, I'm guilty. I did it. It's like one of those things that you just go back to. But the truth is, man, it don't matter. Like he says, don't ask me how I feel. Ask me what I know. Right. That's the truth about worship and about praise is like, it doesn't really matter how you're feeling. Like it's an obedience thing. Like you said, it's an obedience thing. Just carrying it out. It's a command of God, to show up and do it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, since we have another fellow worship leader here, I want to hear a worship fail.
Ooh. Oh, that's so easy. I've got them on deck. I'm ready to go. The first time, Melissa, you're going to love this. So the first time I ever got a really big opportunity to lead on the weekend stage here at Grace, it's been, I guess 10 years ago, because I've been here it's 13 years. Yeah. And it was a Christmas Eve service. It was one of the late Christmas Eve services. So it's a big deal. Christmas Eve, candlelight service. Yeah. Trev, we're going to have you lead one of these services. You get to kind of craft it how you want to do it. And dude, I worked so hard on it. I got the band together that I wanted. There's a ton of people there. And I came from a real small church background. So coming to Grace, even just playing in the youth band, the youth group was 3 times the size of the church that I was at, in its entirety. So it was already kind of a crazy environment, but I'm ready. I'm super confident. We get done with the first song. We hit that big chord. I killed the solo. We're going, we're killing it. And it's my intro and I've done it 50 times in front of the mirror. I'm ready to go. And I said, yeah. Merry Christmas. Are y'all excited you guys excited to be here this evening? Just like that.
Oh.
And guys, that's not an exaggeration. Andres back there behind the camera laughing right now. That is not an exaggeration. That is real. Just like that. To the point, like, bro, it's recorded. Like, I can show it to y'all. This
Can we cut to that?
Yeah, this recording exists somewhere on God's internet. And I'll have to find it for y'all.
We're gonna need literally our internet.
That's all, folks. You know, like
in
just
the
like
beginning,
that.
in the beginning.
Exactly. No, that's the one that like comes right off the top of my head. But dude, we're up there. Just so y'all know, we up there making mistakes all the time.
Yeah.
A lot of people look up at us and they like, we work really, really hard because we love you guys and we want it to be an amazing experience for y'all across all of our campuses. But we are not perfect. We mess up all the time. And I think a lot of people, like, they're sitting in the seats and they might be like a super dope singer or musician. They look up and think we got it all together. I'm telling y'all, we need you. We need you. Okay.
Yeah,
we want you to get involved. So, don't think we have it all together. We make mistakes all the time too.
Yeah. I tend to not be able to tell unless it's the drummer.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
And that's the hardest part for being the drummer is you're like the loudest human. And so you're back there doing it. And I'm like,
that's right.
And I'm like, oh man, poor guy. That's the only time that you really notice certain people.
Oh yeah,
is when they mess up, especially the drummer, because nobody's paying attention to the drummer. At the moment he's on the wrong.
Messes up.
Yeah.
I always feel bad for the front of house guys, the sound guys, because if they do a great job, you never know they're there. Right. But then if the mic's cutting out, the pastor's like, hey, let's give it up for our sound guys, huh? Yeah. Let's give it up for them.
That's better. Look, I don't mean to throw I might as well. So when I helped my dad start a church, and in the very beginning, all kinds of sound issues. We're meeting in a school, all that kind of stuff. And we kept having sound issues. My dad got mad. It's like, what the heck is going on? Like in the middle of a message, like all that. And our worship lead, Blaine, was like, look, you can't get mad at the sound people. I can't get any back there if you keep getting mad at them. And so that's the reason why pastors go, let's give it up for them, because it's like, that's the only moment, because the moment the sound messes up, everybody looks back.
Exactly.
Like they don't even know who they're looking back at. They're just like, what did you just do?
They just know it's back there somewhere.
Right. Meanwhile, y'all
so
never
let's praise them. It's the power of
and
praise.
really, that's the second worst job is the slide person.
Oh,
because that's the other thing. Nobody knows that you're off. The moment
that's the Lord's
you guys
work.
go into another verse or something like that, and they're on the wrong thing, and everybody's like,
they're back there sweating, trying to find it somewhere in the archives.
You're like, and everybody in the crowd's like, I haven't memorized this. I need the words. I know we've sung this for the 50th time.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Melissa. I interrupted you.
That's okay.
What was the question? No.
I don't know if I've asked the question yet. I don't know. I think we're just getting started here. But we did get a few questions, so we are gonna dive in. But this has been such a blast. The first one that we got, and I think sometimes you guys already touched on it. People think worship leaders, pastors, anyone on stage is perfect, right? And so the question that came in is, have you guys as pastors ever been in a situation where you had to shift your focus on some adversity, shift it away from that into a praise posture? And I think even just the fact that someone asked that question in that way, have you ever? Yes.
Yeah.
Whoever you are.
Yeah.
Yes.
I worked in youth ministry. That was a regular thing in youth ministry.
Anytime in your life, you're gonna have to do that, no matter who you are, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure you guys have been through plenty of times where you've had to kind of shift, but
absolutely.
Yeah, I'll start off, and it's a youth ministry story. I remember coming back early on in youth ministry, largest group I had ever taken to camp. Was thrilled, excited, all that. Bus breaks down. Like one bus on every camp trip has to break down.
I remember that.
It's a part of it. And this was actually in West Palm. And we get back at like 2:00 in the morning, and everybody ends up going home. I walk over to my car, and there's a kid sitting there on the sidewalk, and I'm like, why are you here? I like, did you call your parents? Not yet.
Oh no!
Like what?
I was hoping you could give me a ride home, Pastor Hal.
This was back when youth ministry, like when we took camp, it was a full week of camp. So it's a full week of camp. It's about 2:30 in the morning. I give him my cell phone. He calls. Finally, he picks up. And he goes, all right, my dad's coming. I'm like, how far away do you guys live? 45 minutes. Ooh. And then the dad shows up and then reams me out.
Oh God!
Just starts yelling at me.
Sure, why not?
And screaming. And I'm like, in that moment, it was like one of those things. I'm like, we just had an incredible week at camp. Kids gave their life to Christ, all that kind of stuff. I remember getting in my truck and going, I have a choice right now. I really did. I'm like, I have a choice. Like, I'm thrilled that I was so tired because I was so tired, I didn't like yell back at him.
Yeah.
But I was just like, what in the world? And I'm like, I just took your kid away from you for a week.
Yeah.
Like normally parents are like, thank you.
Right. They're very grateful.
But I remember in that moment.
He thought it was a 2 week.
Right.
That's
he
right.
thought it was 2 weeks.
I just remember in that moment going, do I get to focus on this or do I focus on God? And that's a ministry experience. I think this happens on a regular basis. This happens like on a regular basis in parenting.
Yeah.
Like in marriage where you go, am I going to focus on what God has already given me? Or am I going to focus on the situation right here and take it out? But not Daryl. Daryl is a perfect pastor.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've never had any problems.
Yes.
I don't even get hangnails.
We heard you threaten some little girl at the volleyball team this weekend. Okay, Daryl?
Oh, yeah. That
is true.
To kill her was a little extreme.
I was like, he's going to get emails.
was-
Did you get emails about that yet?
Probably. I haven't checked.
Yeah,
you haven't checked it
Uh,
yet. You haven't checked that inbox?
I haven't checked that
Yeah.
inbox.
Yeah.
All the complaints go to one inbox. No, interestingly, like this weekend, while clearly I'm talking about praise, but I had to really focus myself on God in a way because I had a toothache.
Like a serious
Really?
one.
I had a root canal yesterday.
No way.
So the whole weekend I had a severe
Whoa.
Gosh,
like
dude, I didn't know that. That's
like-
crazy.
piercing pain. Like I felt it in my eye. Like it was
that's
just
so rough.
and it's like, yo, I gotta preach. And so there were moments I'm in the back and my eyes twitching. I'm like, God, what's going on right now? So my mouth was twitching at one point. But it really was about perspective. And I had to go, okay, God, you're good and you're going to work through this. I can't even think right now. So I just have to focus on you.
Mm-hmm.
And God showed up. And so it's like those are moments where in the moment, what are you going to do now?
Yeah.
Because worship is about to be over
Mhm.
and you're up next. And there was one point I went in the back, my wife came and she brought me something and I went in the back and I thought I had 10 minutes. Like I just need 10 minutes and I did not have 10 minutes.
Mhm.
And the security guard comes out and he goes, hey, they're finishing this song up. And so I got to run out and I just had to immediately, I got to focus and go, hey, this is what I have to do is bigger than what I feel.
Mhm.
And so God, speak through me in this moment and let me not pay attention to this. And in the entire time while I was speaking, all 4 services, I felt no pain. There was nothing there. There wasn't any remnants of any pain or nothing. It wasn't until I got home that it showed up like, hey, didn't go anywhere. I'm still here. And so,
That's
you know,
wild.
I thank God for what little medication I did have. But, you know, I think we've had those moments all through life. I've experienced that this past year where I had to go, I know I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Yes.
I'm going to praise God and focus on that. And that's the most important thing. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's cool.
There's just so many, there's so many situations throughout, life and ministry. It's been honestly a privilege for me. I got to work with Pastor Hal really early on in my career at Grace.
I was the youth pastor and Trev was my worship leader.
Yeah. And I got to lead worship for Pastor Hal doing youth ministry. And I mean, we've seen everything, I feel like together. We stayed in a tent together in the middle of the
I
woods.
didn't know we were going to share that, but okay.
Yeah,
on a youth trip. On a youth trip.
On a youth trip.
just randomly.
There was other people there.
We didn't just go hang out in tents. Yeah.
Pastor Hal, though, here's the cool thing y'all need to know about Pastor Hal. We're getting real on this podcast right now.
I'm a little worried
Pastor
about what we're
Hal
going to
Do
share.
it.
Is the most prepared camper I have literally ever been around.
Wow.
This man had an air mattress. This man had a battery-powered fan. I mean, this guy was
He's a
ready.
glamper.
He was ready to
Well,
go.
that's the thing.
Okay.
We have an age difference. Once you hit a certain age, I can't camp anymore. I'm like, this is the dumbest thing in the world. So I'm like, I'm going to go camping. I'm going to have this. I'm going to have
Absolutely.
this.
Absolutely.
It's going to be set up. Like, I don't care what the kids have.
One of the
But-
but that's
Yeah.
that's sort of like a microcosm though of like what my experience was like with Pastor Hal, like doing ministry, because like you to me like have always been a great example of somebody who's steady in crisis. And that like I thought you always gave me a really great example of that when I was young in ministry. And that's something that I've been able to go to you about, even since then. when I've been in crisis in my own life, you've been there for me and shared wisdom with me and always treated me with unconditional love. Like, to me, there's a verse towards the end of Acts where Paul and Silas have getting beat up, beat to death, and they keep telling them, stop teaching, stop talking about Jesus, stop doing all these things that you're doing. And towards the end of the chapter, it says, they went away rejoicing for having been counted worthy of suffering disgrace for the name of Jesus, right? And it's like, man, that's my ultimate goal. Anytime I've gone through crisis in my life, anytime I've been, at the absolute bottom, it's like, let me consider this a gift that I've been able to get even closer to God through this situation. So that's like, we've all lost people that are close to us. We've all been seen people and, go through sickness and all different type of things. And praise is the thing that's always there. That's constant. That's always been able to pick me back up for sure.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And you said it this weekend, Daryl, you said it's easier to act your way into feelings instead of feel your way into action. And I thought, you all touched on it with your stories, but there's so much wisdom in that. Okay. How can I act my way into the feeling will come? You talked about it with marriage was the example you had used, right? To say, hey, how can I show love and show affection, and the feelings will come, but the action and putting the first things first.
Yeah, I think
awesome.
we undervalue doing.
Yeah,
I think we undervalue because we're such a sensitive culture where I feel this way and I feel this, and there's so many feelings, and then we just undervalue. Just go do something. Just be. Yeah. It's like, even when it comes to anxiety and stress, when people say, man, I'm anxious, one of the things that overcomes anxiety is to go for a walk. Like, go do. And instead of you just sitting in your room and being depressed and being anxious, go walk. Go pray, go read, go do the things that are going to help you get your mind out of this slump. And so because it's that doing, praise is a doing. Praise isn't a feeling. And not that you can't have emotion, because people do. We see it in our church. We hear it at Temple Terrace.
More than other places. Absolutely.
There are people who are very emotional, but praise isn't emotion. It is the act of obedience. And it is that praise, as you said, that keeps you consistent in crisis.
That's right.
It keeps you content. It keeps you with a grateful heart. And so as long as you're willing to do, there's a lot of stuff we can overcome if we just go, I'm committed to the doing more than the feeling. And man, I hope my feelings do catch up. But if your feelings don't catch up, you still get the reward from doing.
Absolutely.
You never have to like working out, but if you do it every day, you still get the reward. Your body is still going to see the result of you being healthy and living a different lifestyle. And praise is like that. Man, if you do, you're going to see the benefit. So just go do it.
And Jesus modeled that. All throughout scripture. Yeah. We saw all the time in Jesus' ministry, God, does it really have to be crucifixion? Do I really have to go through this?
Yeah.
Oh man, this is not going to be fun, but not my will, but your will be done.
Yeah. And I do. I think the thing about emotion that we have to realize, it's not that your emotions aren't valid.
Right.
But we have to see emotions as a symptom. Like, and that's the thing. You understand emotions, you look at emotions. And I think one of the things I talked about, like, especially with men, like, we always have to look at our emotions and go, why am I feeling that way?
Yeah.
Like, what's the thing behind it?
Yes.
And so if I can use my emotion to understand why, it's very useful. But if I just allow my emotions to say, this is who I am, they're not. Yeah, that's the problem that happens. And it's true. And like you said, I one company, I think it was Sweden or something like that, did a study, and they found out that going for a walk was just as effective as some of the best anxiety medication.
Wow.
Now, that doesn't mean that medication goes out the door.
Right.
But one of the biggest things that the enemy loves to do is to tell us who we are and make us sit there.
Yes.
And there is nothing worse in life than just sitting there. Because, and I tell people all the time, like, especially I run into talking with a lot of guys that are in really tough moments. And one of the reasons they're in really tough moments is they lost their job. They're in between jobs. And so they're at home all the time. And they're just sitting in their emotions. They're sitting in their thoughts.
Yeah.
I said, that's the problem. I said, you need to go do something.
Absolutely.
Find a place to, I said, I got a job starting in 2 weeks. I'm like, that's fine. Find a place to do something now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go volunteer, go do something, because the worst thing we can do many times is just sit there.
Be idle. Yeah.
And it's and I think that's one of the reasons praise is so important and prayer is so important. In those moments where we do have to sit still, what are you doing with your thoughts?
Yeah.
Are they used to praise God, or are they used to are they telling you that you're not worthy, that this isn't possible, that this situation can't happen? Yeah. And I think that's the two ways we can spend time alone, because time alone is not bad, but what are you doing with it?
Yeah. And another thing, like to your question that I would say is like been so crucial for me too, is like, I'm married to someone who is incredibly emotionally steady, and consistent. And that's been such a massive blessing, for me in my life. And so many, I'm more of like a feelings driven type person. My wife is more of like, just like a facts, very straight ahead type of person. That's been the biggest blessing for me, because she's that steadiness, been constantly being surrounded by someone who's like that,
right.
And being able to feed off of that, energy. So I would say definitely, try to surround yourself with people who can hold you down, basically in that sense.
Yeah. All right. So the next question we got from some people online was, you had said in your message, Daryl, that praise can be used as a weapon against the enemy.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about that? How does that work?
Well, let me start this way. Like when I hear it out loud, it reminds me of my mom, who was hardcore praise and prayer. And so my mother would come in, she'd bust open a door in a moment and just start speaking in tongues and singing loud. It's like, this is what we do. It's like, so, I'm 5-6 years old and she's busting in the room like, bless that wonderful name of Jesus. She's like, this is what we do. We starting the day off with praise. So I would go in kindergarten. I'm going to school singing old songs because that's how we start the day.
So
That's
good.
epic.
And so, and we would start the day singing to get all the darkness away. So you start with the sun, you start with the hope, and you start with that.
That's
and so
cool.
I think in the same way, that can happen in your house, because praise is about gratitude.
Yeah.
The enemy can't stick around when you're full of joy.
Mm-hmm.
Like he can't survive in that joy. He survives off depression and anxiety and hopelessness. He survives off that. But praise says the opposite. Praise is constantly saying who God is and what God can do. And so the enemy he doesn't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
So he stays as far away from you as he can. And I do that around my house, around my kids, and praise is also us quoting scripture. It's not just saying that, but I can praise any scripture. I can open up and just say scriptures out loud, because this is my prayer. This is my praise. And that's how you use it as a weapon. Whatever you're facing, whatever your issues are you quoting scriptures that remind you that God is the God of peace, that reminds you that God can heal, that God can deliver you? Are you saying those things out loud? And then do you believe it? And here's what I love about praise. You don't have to start by believing it. Sometimes you repeat it. It's happened in my life. You repeat it until you convince yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I'm going to keep saying this until I'm encouraged by it. Like, you can't keep saying that God is a way maker and then eventually not believe that he's going to make a way, because he will. Because what you repeat to yourself, that's what you celebrate. And then that will get into your soul. And then that changes how you live and what you do. So when anybody shows up with anything, you go, no, I know God is a way maker. No, there's no way I could believe that, because I know that God will make a way. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know how he's going to do it, but God is going to make a way. And so the devil is always looking for doubt. He's looking for any small crack to come in. But if you're using praise as your shield and your sword, you're like, yo, you're not coming through here.
Yeah.
One thing that, that I think about when I think about consistent, people who are consistently joyful, that's one thing since I've known you, just a very short amount of time since me and you went and got lunch at the little taco, the little Azul taco place over here. Like when we first met and we were talking back and forth, you're somebody who's been in ministry, like a lot of rich years of ministry, but you still have like a joy, like you just started. You know what I'm saying? That's something that I really appreciate about you. That joy is infectious, is contagious. And I would say, like, me and you have both interacted with people who are like the church folk, like say the right thing type of joyful. You know what I'm saying? Like, where it's like they know what to say to make it seem like everything's good.
Yeah.
but they're really bitter. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that bitterness is contagious, just like the joy, part is contagious.
Yeah.
And so, I would say, praise is a weapon when you can praise God consistently. And like you said earlier, be grateful consistently. My dad always told me one of the worst things you can be is bitter.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, you can be a lot of things, but bitter will take you down the wrong path really, really fast. And so, anytime, we could choose gratitude. There's a song that I listen to like pretty much anytime I'm down, that'll pick me right back up. Keep on getting better. And that's something that plays in my head, even like in the moment, sometimes when I'm frustrated or I'm like feeling down or I'm feeling bitter. I'll remind my soul to bless you, standing firm upon your truth, knowing that you cannot be shaken because I've seen what you can do.
Yeah.
I think you gotta sing it.
No, that's all right. That's all right. We'll add it as a tag. We'll tag it in soon. We'll tag it in soon. But
just to add to that, I think statements that I've heard from people is like, you can't be happy all the time, or you can't be this all the time. Praise isn't denial.
Right.
It's not, for the people, it's like every time you see them, I'm always, man, God is blessing. I'm blessed and highly favored. All praise isn't denial that stuff is going on.
Yeah.
Praise is, I know stuff is going on and God is still good.
Right.
Like I'm not in denial that my tooth was jacked up. Like that really happened. I'm not in denial that we went through some sickness and whatever, some challenges we had this past year. Yeah. But God is so much bigger and better than all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
In the midst of that, I'm still very grateful for all that is happening. And I had a chance this weekend to do that in real time. Like, I'm in pain, but man, this is wonderful to watch.
Yeah.
And I'm blessed right now because look at what I get to do. And we'll deal with the tooth tomorrow. So it's like, it's not denial of the stuff. And often I've found that when my head is right in praise, God will give me answers.
Yeah.
He will give me answers. He will lead me to the right people because my focus is right. My perspective. I'm not bitter or mad or just sulking. I'm thinking about him and he's thinking about me and he's giving me the answers of bringing the right people. And sometimes when you're not in the right perspective, you can't even hear the right people.
That's right.
You don't even hear the answers because you're not in the right place to be in.
Yeah.
And so praise opens up your ears. It opens up your spirit to be able to hear what God really wants you to hear so that you can be content.
Yeah.
And whatever that next level is.
That's good.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you guys saying is, I just read Craig Rochelle's Winning the War in Your Mind. Right.
Great
Joyce
book.
Meyer, Battlefield of Mind. When you hear about how is praise a weapon against the enemy, well, the war is in your mind.
Yeah.
Right. And if you can win this and you can focus on praise and you can focus on God and you can focus on not yourself, right, and take your eyes off of you and put them on God and praise and honor and glorify him, then you'll win every day.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you said you're not a pastor, but
That's
you got bars.
Am I qualified?
You got bars.
That's all it took.
That was bars.
That's all it takes.
That's all.
Well, that was my contribution to the podcast. So I appreciate that. Awesome. Well, those were all the questions that we got today. Unless Trevor wants to close us out with a little jingle for the Pastors Hangover.
Definitely not. But I do love you guys.
Okay.
You don't
All
want it.
right.
You don't want it. What we practice.
Oh, the thing that we
1, 2, 3.
We just did a podcast together with Pastor Hal. Oh, you went minor too?
Yeah.
Why'd you go minor? I thought I was going to get you, but you went minor too.
I just love that they're saying that. I have no idea what they're talking about. Yeah, we went minor. Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, we went major.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, you went to the 9?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I get and Melissa so we could put in Anna on the edit? Pastor Hal and Melissa.
That's going to be on the
remix. The remix. Oh, you want writing credits now?
Right.
Bro,
she's trying to
she had
throw
one
stuff
good
in.
verse. She had one good verse, and now she wants writing credits.
Like, first of all, you just did your first sermon. You're jumping. Come on.
Bro, just chill.
Slow down.
Chill.
Slow down.
And that is another episode of the Pastors Hangover. We will see you guys next week.